Hello, Zenith women, and welcome to the channel. The rarest kind of strength is the kind that remains gentle. Most people think kindness is easy, smiling at strangers, saying please and thank you, holding the door open. But real kindness, the kind that requires emotional depth, self-restraint, and the ability to care even when no one's watching, that's a whole different level, and no one embodies it quite like a Sigma female. Here's a fact that will blow your mind. Studies show that genuinely empathic people experience higher levels of emotional exhaustion because they absorb the feelings of those around them. Now imagine being a Sigma female, someone who not only feels deeply, but also processes everything in solitude. It's like being an emotional sponge with no ring-out button. And yet, despite the weight of the world on their shoulders, Sigma females move through life with an almost supernatural grace. They don't throw their kindness around for attention. They don't expect a gold star for their empathy. In fact, they're probably the most selfless, intuitive, and quietly powerful individuals you'll ever meet. But make no mistake, this isn't your typical nice girl act. A Sigma female's kindness has layers, depth, and a level of precision that will make you question if she's reading your mind. So, what makes them the most kind and empathic humans to ever walk this earth? Let's dive into the rarest, most extraordinary qualities that set them apart. And trust me, this isn't what you expect. Number 1. They protect others without expecting recognition. Sigma. Females don't go around announcing their loyalty or making grand declarations about standing up for others. They just do it. If they see someone being mistreated, manipulated, or taken advantage of, they step in without hesitation. They don't need permission, and they definitely don't need an audience. Their sense of justice is wired differently. It's not about proving anything to the world. It's about doing what feels right, even when no one is looking. But here's what makes them different. They don't protect people the way most do. They don't just offer comforting words or temporary sympathy. They observe, analyze, and understand the situation from every angle before acting. If they see someone being lied to, they won't just tell them. They'll make sure that person realizes it for themselves. If they sense someone being emotionally manipulated, they'll disrupt the dynamic so subtly that the manipulator won't even see it coming. Their protective nature isn't loud, it's strategic, and they never expect anything in return. No validation, no acknowledgement, not even a thank you. In fact, most of the time, the people they protect don't even realize what's been done for them. A Sigma female will take a hit for someone without ever mentioning it. She'll absorb the tension, take the blame if it keeps the peace, and make sacrifices that others don't even notice. Not because she's weak, but because she knows that true kindness isn't about being seen, it's about impact. But don't mistake this for blind loyalty. The moment they sense entitlement, manipulation, or someone taking advantage of their protection, they withdraw completely. If they protect you, it's because they believe you're worth it. The second you prove otherwise, you'll never get that shield again. They don't give second chances in that department, because while their kindness is limitless, their tolerance for users is not. Number 2, they take on emotional burdens they'll never speak about. A Sigma female will sit with you in your pain, let you vent, and somehow make you feel lighter just by being there. But what most people never realize is that while she's helping you process your emotions, she's silently absorbing them herself. She takes in the energy of the people around her, every frustration, every heartbreak, every silent battle, and carries it without making a sound. Not because she has to, but because she doesn't know any other way to exist. She won't tell you she's drained. She won't burden you with her own struggles. She'll listen, offer wisdom, and make you feel safe. But when she walks away, she takes all that emotional weight with her. It sits heavy in her mind, replaying in quiet moments when no one is watching. She'll process it alone, working through emotions that aren't even hers, finding a way to release them without ever letting anyone know the cost. It's not that she enjoys suffering in silence. It's just that she doesn't see the point in dumping her struggles on others when she knows most people wouldn't understand. The world sees her as composed, unshaken, always in control. No one ever stops to think about how much she's holding in. Even when she's carrying her own burdens, she'll still show up for others, offering the same steady presence that makes people feel safe. But when she's the one struggling, who does she turn to? The truth is, most of the time she doesn't. She's learned that not everyone can handle the depth of what she feels, so she keeps it locked inside, processing everything in solitude. People often say she's strong or resilient, but they have no idea what that really means. Strength for her isn't about being tough. It's about carrying a weight that no one sees, making sure others don't have to feel it. And she'll never ask for recognition because her kindness isn't about being seen. It's about making sure others don't have to suffer alone. Number 3, they show kindness even when it's not deserved. A Sigma female doesn't hand out kindness like it's some kind of reward for good behavior. She's not in the business of keeping score, deciding who deserves it and who doesn't. To her, kindness is a reflection of her character, not a reaction to someone else's actions. She understands something most people don't. People who lash out, manipulate, or act cold are often carrying wounds they don't know how to heal. That doesn't mean she'll excuse bad behavior, but she won't let it turn her bitter either. She can read between the lines, see the insecurity behind arrogance, the loneliness behind cruelty. That doesn't mean she'll let someone walk all over her, far from it. The difference is she won't respond to hostility with hostility. She won't meet disrespect with pettiness or play the revenge game. She doesn't have time for emotional immaturity, but she also doesn't have the energy to waste on resentment. So instead, she operates on a baseline of human decency, treating even the most difficult people with a level of calm that completely disarms them. And this is where people get confused. They mistake her grace for weakness, thinking they can push her limits without consequence. But what they don't realize is that while she may be kind, she's not naive. If someone crosses the line, she won't explode or engage in pointless arguments. She'll simply remove herself. No warnings, no drama, just silence. She doesn't need to prove a point because she already knows who she is. Her kindness isn't about the other person. It's about maintaining her own peace. She refuses to let the world harden her, no matter how many times she's met with indifference or cruelty. And the irony? The very people who don't deserve her kindness are often the ones most shaken by it. Because nothing is more unsettling than realizing someone sees right through your walls and chooses to be kind anyway. Number 4, they read people's emotions before they speak. A Sigma female doesn't need a full breakdown of what's wrong, she already knows. Before you even open your mouth, she's picked up on the tension in your shoulders, the slight hesitation in your movements, the way your tone is just a little off. While most people listen to words, she listens to everything else. The unspoken pauses, the energy in the room, the micro-expressions that flicker across your face for half a second before you mask them. This isn't some mystical ability. It's the result of a lifetime spent observing rather than speaking. She's spent years quietly studying human behavior, decoding patterns, and recognizing emotional shifts that others overlook. That's why when you're on the verge of breaking down but trying to hide it, she knows exactly what to do. She won't force you to talk if you're not ready, but she'll stay close enough for you to know you're not alone. If you need space, she'll give it without taking offense. If you need to be distracted, she'll subtly change the subject without making it obvious. And if you need the truth, she'll give it to you in a way that actually makes sense, rather than just throwing empty words at the problem. What makes this ability so rare is that she doesn't use it for manipulation. Most people who are this perceptive learn to use it to their advantage, to control, to guilt trip, to steer conversations in their favor. But a Sigma female, she uses it to make people feel safe. She doesn't just hear what you say, she understands what you mean. That's why people feel so comfortable around her, even if they don't know why. She creates an unspoken understanding, a space where you don't have to explain yourself. And the irony? Because she's so good at reading others, people assume she doesn't need the same in return. They rarely stop to ask how she's doing, rarely notice when she's struggling. But she never holds it against them. She just keeps showing up, keeps understanding, even when no one else does. Number 5, they care, but they won't chase. A Sigma female will care about you in ways you don't even notice. She'll remember the little details you mentioned weeks ago, check in when your energy feels off, and offer support without making a big deal out of it. But the moment she senses that her kindness is being taken for granted, she'll detach, silently, effortlessly, and without a trace of resentment. She won't argue, she won't demand appreciation, and she definitely won't chase. She simply removes herself, because to her, real empathy isn't about bleeding for people who don't care if you're drained. It's about knowing when to give and when to let go. This is what confuses people the most. They assume that because she's kind, she must also be endlessly available, that she'll tolerate neglect, mixed signals, or one-sided relationships just because she cares. But a Sigma female's compassion isn't weakness, it's selective. She knows that if she has to beg for reciprocity, it's not worth it. If someone can't recognize her value, she won't waste time trying to prove it. She won't guilt trip, throw tantrums, or seek revenge. She'll just disappear. And by the time they realize what they lost, she's already moved on. The thing is, she doesn't care to be the most important person in your life. She just refuses to be an afterthought. She's not cold, she's not heartless, and she's not playing hard to get. She's simply self-aware enough to know that real kindness isn't about self-sacrifice. It's about balance. She gives wholeheartedly, but only to those who meet her halfway. And when she walks away, she doesn't look back. Not because she stopped caring, but because she finally realized she was the only one who did. Number 6. They understand pain because they've lived it. A Sigma female's kindness isn't some fairy tale belief in the goodness of the world. It's the kind that's been sharpened by pain, carved out of survival, and reinforced by battles she fought alone. She doesn't just sympathize with struggle. She understands it in ways most never will. She's been through the kind of emotional storms that either break people or forge them into something unshakable. And because she's lived it, she recognizes suffering in others without them ever having to say a word. Most people assume kindness comes from innocence, from never having been hurt. But for her, it's the opposite. She's felt abandonment, betrayal, and heartbreak in their rawest forms. She's known what it's like to be unheard, unseen, and misunderstood. She's faced moments where she had no one to lean on but herself, where she had to claw her way out of emotional darkness without a guide. And through all of that, she made a choice, not to let the world harden her, but to be the kind of presence she once needed. That's why being around her feels different. She doesn't offer shallow sympathy or scripted words of comfort. When she says, "I understand," she means it, because she's walked through the fire herself. She won't downplay your pain or try to fix it with cliches. Instead, she'll sit with you in it, giving you the space to be vulnerable without judgment. And the most powerful part? She won't make it about her. She won't turn your struggles into a story about her own, nor will she pretend to have all the answers. She simply knows how to hold space for others because no one ever did it for her. But don't mistake her kindness for limitless availability. She's not here to be drained by people who only take. She understands pain, but she also understands boundaries. And if she senses that someone is using her empathy as a tool rather than appreciating it, she'll withdraw. Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Because at the end of the day, her kindness isn't a weakness. It's a strength that only those who truly value it will ever get to experience. Number 7. They offer solutions, not just sympathy. A Sigma female isn't the type to sit there, nodding with a pitying look while you pour your heart out. She's not about empty comfort or saying what you want to hear just to make you feel better in the moment. Her empathy isn't passive, it's sharp, strategic, and solution-driven. She listens, yes, but she's also analyzing, breaking down the situation, seeing angles you haven't considered. While most people just mirror emotions, she's already thinking 5 steps ahead, figuring out how to help you navigate through whatever storm you're in. She understands that while emotions need to be felt, staying stuck in them is a trap. That's why, when you come to her, she doesn't just validate your pain, she helps you move through it. If you're stuck in a toxic situation, she'll show you a way out. If you're drowning in self-doubt, she'll challenge the lies you're telling yourself. If you're caught up in a cycle of overthinking, she'll cut through the noise with a perspective so clear it forces you to snap out of it. And the best part, She does it without making you feel weak or stupid. This is why people either love her or find her intimidating. Some appreciate the way she forces them to see reality, while others feel exposed by it. But she doesn't sugarcoat or offer band-aid solutions because she knows real help isn't about coddling. It's about clarity. She won't just sit in the dark with you. She'll find the switch and turn the light on. And that's rare. Most people will comfort you in your suffering, but a Sigma female, she'll show you how to get out of it. Not because she doesn't care, but because she cares enough to actually make a difference. Number 8. They can walk alone without losing their softness. A Sigma female knows loneliness in a way most people fear. She's walked through life without the safety net of constant validation, without a crowd to lean on, without needing someone to reassure her that she's enough. But here's the difference. She didn't let that turn her cold. Where others become jaded, guarded, or ruthless, she remains compassionate. Not because life has been easy, but because she refuses to let it strip her of her humanity. Most people adapt to solitude by hardening themselves, using it as a shield to keep the world at arm's length. They build walls, develop an edge, and convince themselves that caring less equals hurting less. But a Sigma female doesn't play that game. She understands that kindness is a strength, not a weakness, and that shutting off emotions only creates a different kind of suffering. She doesn't perform compassion for an audience. She embodies it, even when no one's watching. This is what makes her so rare. She doesn't need external validation to continue being a good person. She doesn't require recognition, applause, or an appreciative crowd. She helps because she chooses to, not because she expects anything in return. And that's what people don't understand. Her kindness isn't conditional, and it's not for show. It's real, unshaken by disappointment, and untethered to the approval of others. But don't mistake her softness for naivety. She's not blind to the way the world works. She's felt betrayal, been overlooked, and faced moments where she had every reason to stop caring. Yet she never let bitterness win. That's why her presence feels so different, because she's proof that you can walk alone, survive the weight of your own solitude, and still choose to be kind. Not because the world deserves it, but because she refuses to become anything less than who she truly is. Number 9. They offer the kind of honesty that actually helps. A Sigma female's kindness isn't the sugar-coated, hand-holding kind that makes you feel good for a moment, but leaves you stuck in the same place. She doesn't believe in comforting lies or pointless sympathy that leads nowhere. When she cares, she tells the truth, the kind that might sting at first, but ultimately sets you free. She won't nod along while you make excuses for yourself, and she won't pretend something is fine when it's clearly falling apart. If you're sabotaging yourself, she'll call it out. If you're stuck in a toxic cycle, she'll tell you exactly why. And if you're lying to yourself about a situation, she'll cut through the illusion with brutal clarity. But here's what makes her different. She doesn't do it to tear you down. She does it because she actually wants you to grow. Most people avoid hard truths because they don't want to upset anyone. Others use them as weapons, delivering honesty in a way that humiliates or hurts. But a Sigma female, she wields truth like a tool, not a weapon. She knows how to tell you what you need to hear in a way that makes you think, not break. Her honesty doesn't feel like an attack. It feels like a mirror showing you what you've been avoiding, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. This is why people either swear by her or avoid her. Some thrive in her presence because she forces them to level up, while others run from her because they're not ready to face themselves. But one thing's for sure. If you have a Sigma female in your life, you'll never be fed illusions. She won't let you drown in self-deception. She'll tell you the truth even when it's hard, because she knows that real kindness isn't about making you comfortable. It's about making you better. Number 10. They never weaponize your vulnerabilities. A Sigma female is the kind of person you can spill your darkest secrets to and never have to worry about them resurfacing as weapons. She doesn't store your mistakes like ammunition, waiting for the perfect moment to fire back. She doesn't play mind games, twist your vulnerabilities against you, or use your past pain to gain leverage. When you trust her with something personal, it stays locked away, no matter what happens between you. Most people, whether consciously or not, file away others' weaknesses. They might not use them right away, but when emotions run high, they suddenly bring up that one thing you told them in confidence. They remind you of your failures when it's convenient. They turn your lowest moments into a tool for control. But a Sigma female, that's not her style. She sees vulnerability as sacred, not as currency to be traded when the stakes are high. This is what makes her rare. She understands that trust is fragile, that once it's broken, it's nearly impossible to repair. That's why, even if you hurt her, even if you walk away, even if you become strangers, she will never betray what you once confided in her. It's not about being noble, it's about integrity. And integrity isn't situational for her, it's just who she is. Some might mistake this for weakness, assuming that if she doesn't use what she knows, she's letting people get away with things. But the truth is, she doesn't need to play dirty to win. She lets people reveal their own true colors without interference. And if someone ever tries to use her vulnerabilities against her, they quickly realize they've underestimated the wrong person. Because while she never strikes first, she also never lets anyone make a habit of disrespecting her. Her kindness is real, but so is her self-respect, and that combination is what makes her truly untouchable. A Sigma female's kindness isn't loud, performative, or conditional. It's woven into the very fabric of who she is. She moves through the world with an empathy that isn't naive, a strength that isn't aggressive, and a depth that most people can't comprehend. She doesn't offer kindness for approval, nor does she weaponize the trust people place in her. She absorbs the pain of others without demanding recognition, extends compassion even when it's not deserved, and delivers truth in a way that actually helps. But don't mistake her for someone who can be taken for granted. She cares deeply, but she won't chase. She forgives, but she never forgets. She listens, but she doesn't tolerate manipulation. Her empathy isn't an invitation for disrespect, and her softness isn't a weakness, it's a conscious choice, one that requires more strength than most will ever understand. In a world that often rewards coldness and self-interest, a Sigma female stands as proof that you can be kind without being a pushover, honest without being cruel, and independent without becoming detached. She walks alone, yet she remains open-hearted. She sees the worst in people, yet she still chooses to be good. And that's exactly what makes her so rare. If this resonated with you, if you see the depth, the strength, and the rare kind of kindness that a Sigma female carries, then you already know this isn't your average channel. We don't do cliches, surface-level advice, or sugar-coated truths. We break things down in a way that actually matters, that challenges the way you think, and that keeps you coming back for more. So if you're someone who values raw, unfiltered wisdom, hit that subscribe button. Be part of a space where depth is appreciated, where real conversations happen, and where the rarest minds find their place. And don't just subscribe. Turn on those notifications. Because trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.